The envelope arrived on a quiet Tuesday afternoon, the kind of ordinary day that never warns you your life is about to split into before and after. I remember the way my hands trembled as I picked it up from the mailbox, my name printed neatly on the front, the logo of the DNA testing company staring back at me like it knew something I didn't.
This is SK Stories, where every story reminds us that kindness, empathy, and second chances can appear in the most unexpected moments. If you enjoy stories that inspire the heart, press like, share this video with someone special, leave your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to SK Stories for more powerful stories.
Way. We had gathered in my aunt's backyard, sunlight filtering through tall trees, the smell of grilled food mixing with laughter and old memories. My father, Haroon, had stood at the center of it all, the anchor of our family. He was the man everyone trusted, the one who fixed problems before they even became visible. To me, he wasn't just a father, he was certainty itself. My mother, Shazia, had always said we were lucky to have a man like him. And I believed her completely. It was my cousin Ramin who suggested the DNA kits. She had seen a trend online and thought it would be fun to trace our ancestry. Soon, it turned into a group activity. Everyone lined up, joking about who might secretly be part royal or have some unexpected heritage. My father hesitated for a moment when the kit was handed to him. It was subtle, almost invisible, but I noticed it. Then he smiled, shrugged it off, and participated like everyone else. At the time, I didn't think much of it. Now, that moment plays in my mind like a warning I missed. 3 weeks passed, and life returned to normal. Work, routines, small conversations over dinner. Then the results started coming in. One by one, family members shared their ancestry reports in our group chat, comparing percentages and laughing over surprises. When my results arrived, I opened them casually, expecting nothing more than a breakdown of regions and maybe a distant relative or two. But instead, there it was, an unfamiliar name listed under close family matches, a name none of us had ever heard before, Zayon. At first, I thought it was a mistake. The report showed a high percentage of shared DNA, too high to be a distant relative. It suggested something closer, a half-sibling. My heart pounded as I reread the line over and over, trying to make sense of it. It had to be wrong. It had to be a glitch. But the more I looked, the clearer it became. This wasn't an error. This was real. I didn't tell anyone immediately. Instead, I sat alone in my room, staring at my phone, my mind racing through impossible scenarios. My father had always been loyal. My parents' marriage had always seemed solid, unshakable. So how could this be true? How could there be someone else? That night, I couldn't sleep. Every memory of my childhood felt different, as if it had been quietly rewritten without my knowledge. I thought about my father's late nights at work, the trips he used to take when I was younger, the stories that never quite had details. Things I had accepted without question suddenly felt heavy with hidden meaning. The next morning, I gathered the courage to show the results to my older sister, Mayhor. Her reaction was immediate and intense. Shock turned into denial, then into anger. She insisted it was a mistake, that these tests weren't always accurate. But I could see the doubt in her eyes, mirroring my own. Together, we decided to confront our father. It was one of the hardest conversations of my life. We sat across from him at the dining table, the same table where we had shared countless meals and laughter. My hands were cold as I slid the phone toward him, the results glowing on the screen. For a moment, he didn't react. Then his expression changed, slowly, like a wall cracking under pressure. He didn't deny it. Instead, he leaned back in his chair, closed his eyes, and let out a long, heavy breath. In that moment, he looked older than I had ever seen him. The man who had always seemed so strong suddenly looked fragile, weighed down by something he had carried alone for years. He told us about a time before he met our mother, a chapter of his life he had never spoken about. He had been young, reckless, and in love. The relationship had ended abruptly, complicated by circumstances he never fully explained. Shortly after, he met our mother and chose to leave the past behind, believing it was over. He never knew there had been a child. Hearing it didn't make things easier. If anything, It made them more complicated. Because now, this wasn't just a secret, it was a person. A real person, with a life, with questions, with a connection to us. Days turned into a blur of tension and silence. My mother was devastated. The pain in her eyes was something I will never forget. It wasn't just about betrayal, it was about the realization that there had been a part of her husband's life she never knew existed. Our home, once filled with comfort, felt unfamiliar, like we were all strangers trying to find our place again. Then came the message. Zayan reached out. It was simple, almost hesitant. He had seen the match, connected the dots, and decided to take a chance. He didn't accuse or demand anything. He just wanted to know the truth. Reading his words, I felt something shift inside me. This wasn't just about us. This was about him. Someone who had grown up without knowing where he came from, who was now standing at the edge of a family he had never known. We agreed to meet him. The day he arrived felt unreal. I remember standing in the living room, my heart racing as I watched the door. When it finally opened, everything seemed to pause. He looked familiar. Not in a way I could immediately explain, but there was something in his features, in the way he carried himself, that echoed my father. For a moment, no one spoke. Then, slowly, life moved again. The meeting was awkward, emotional, and overwhelming all at once. There were tears, questions, moments of silence where words simply weren't enough. My father struggled to find the right things to say, his guilt and confusion written all over his face. Zayan, despite everything, showed a quiet strength. He wasn't angry. He was searching. Over time, things began to change. It wasn't easy. There were moments of doubt, of pain, of wondering if things would ever feel normal again. But there were also moments of connection, small, fragile threads that slowly started to weave us together. We learned about Zayan's life, his struggles, his dreams. He wasn't just a secret anymore. He was part of our story. My mother's journey was the hardest. Forgiveness didn't come quickly, but she found it, not for the past, but for the future. She chose to see Zayan not as a reminder of pain, but as someone who deserved a place, just like the rest of us. And my father, he changed. The weight he had carried for so long was finally out in the open. He became more present, more honest, more human. For the first time, I saw him not as the perfect figure I had always believed him to be, but as someone flawed, trying his best to make things right. If this story touched your heart, take a moment to like this video and share it with someone who believes in the power of family, even when it's imperfect. Before you go, I have a special request. Comment below and tell me, would you have reached out like Zayan did? Or stayed silent? Because sometimes, the truth doesn't break a family apart. Sometimes, it reshapes it into something stronger, something more real. And in our case, it gave us a chance to rebuild not as the perfect family we once thought we were, but as a stronger one that chose to stay together, despite everything.